The winner of Miami versus Florida State will win the ACC Championship this year.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I was barely done making that statement before I got to Kenton Gibbs chuckle. I got to find out why here in a second. Shout out to the everydayers. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. We'll talk about the best games coming up in week 6. That's this weekend at ACC football. Can Syracuse bounce back without their starting quarterback and after a really, really rough home loss to Duke? But let's talk about Miami versus Florida State. I mean, Kenton, I don't. Was that a crazy thing that I said? That I think these are the two best teams in the ACC, regardless of what happened in Charlottesville. I think whoever wins this game wins the ACC title.
Donno, you know what a stable is designed to do? It's designed to hold your horses. That's what I need you to do right now. Hold your horses. You're forgetting about a little thing because we got rid of divisions, but it's still lingering in the ACC. But you forgot about it. It's called coastal chaos.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Let's think about it for a second, right? All of the biggest upsets this year in terms of point spreads have been by who? Coastal teams. You look at Georgia Tech over Clemson, coastal team involved. You look at the situation with UVA upsetting Florida State, coastal team. You look at what Miami is as a whole, coastal team.
You can take the team out of the coastal. You can't take the coastal out of the team.
Exactly. I'm not saying that this game we won't look back at the end of the season and say, hey, the winner came out of this game. I'm not saying that that's impossible. Not at all. But what I am saying is the definitive declaration, hey, the winner of this game is going to win the ACC. Book it now. Coming into the season, we had booked who would win the ACC. And they're 1-3 now. 1-3,
right,
with their only win being a massive comeback at home against the mighty Troy Trojans. So I'm not saying that Miami nor Florida State can win it. I believe both teams can. I believe both teams are very good. I have an extremely high opinion of Miami. Florida State, not so much. I also have a high opinion of them. I don't want anybody to hear that and say, oh, yeah, it's Florida State. I have a high opinion of Florida State. I just don't feel comfortable crowning either one of these teams at this moment because Miami, we have seen it time and time again. It's been a tale as old as time that Miami is like, oh, yeah, this is their year. Everything's there for them. And then somewhere along the lines, we end up scratching our head at the end of the season going, wait, they're not even in the championship game? What happened? So I believe that Miami has a better shot. If Florida State wins this game, this puts them in good territory to be back in that situation for potentially getting there. I'm just not willing to instantly look at this game and say, the winner of this game, book it. Not only will they get to Charlotte, Florida State fans, book your ticket, or Miami fans, book your ticket to Charlotte, but go ahead and get your replica rings ready for an ACC championship.
I've already got it tattooed on my arm. No, I would never. I'm so superstitious. I feel bad that I even joked about that. But let's move on because you do listen. I'm sure Miami or Florida State winning the ACC championship would probably be good for TV ratings and all that stuff. But there are other teams right now that are undefeated in conference play, including Louisville, who I feel like have only really scratched the surface so far. Georgia Tech, they might be a team of destiny because even when they didn't play so well against Wake Forest, they got some help from the officials in that one, and they have a really easy schedule the rest of the way. Duke, despite their uneven start, they're undefeated in conference so far. So there are other teams to watch out for. Something this week, Kenton, I've noticed, and I've covered Miami for a really long time. And covering this current team where they take the tone from their head coach Mario Cristobal. Miami's players are like very well trained not to give the other side any bulletin board material whatsoever. You ask Carson Beck, hey, what do you think of Florida State's defense? Greatest defense in the history of college football. This is the greatest, that's just the way Miami's coaches and the way Miami players talk. Yeah. Thomas Castellanos is built different, okay, on the Florida State side. Florida State fans are going to roast me for this because it's not that he said anything that inflammatory, but I was watching a clip on social media. Castellanos on ACC Network, Eric McLean was interviewing him, and his co-host, her name escapes me. So they were interviewing Castellanos, and even when he's trying not to say anything that's bulletin board material, he still kind of does it. I just think that's the way he talks. So he starts talking about how the game this weekend is going to end with another field storming in Tallahassee. He said that the fans are going to rush the field. So he said that. And then he said that Florida State's line of scrimmage play is level with Miami's, which I guess, okay, you're giving your guys some credit. Now, again, I'm not saying Florida State can't win this game. I'm saying if they do, it's not going to be because they are bullying Miami in the trenches. Other things have to happen for Florida State to win that game. And the field rushing thing is also interesting because Kenton, with the great history Miami and Florida State have, Florida State won some massive games against Miami. Miami's won some massive games against Florida State. I can't imagine either fan base should rush the field if they beat the other. That's not a field rushing type of game. You should act like we are equals. We don't need to rush the field after beating these guys. So that was the weird part of that comment to me.
NC State doesn't rush the field after we beat the Dirty Foot Club. I'm sorry, the University of North Carolina, because that's the expectation. North Carolina does not rush the field after they beat NC State. That's the expectation. It's the expectation. We are better than you. We are superior to you. You are not on our level, despite the fact that more years than not, it's just a mid-off. It's just two mid teams that are like, we think we're better than you. We think you're better than you. Blah, blah, blah. This is a rivalry between two allegedly superior teams. This is a rivalry between two of the biggest brands in all of college football. This is a rivalry between two brands that have multiple national championships. Miami has a Heisman winner. Do you all or do you all not? Do you all not?
Two. It was Gino Torretta and Vinny Testaverde.
There you go. Miami has multiple Heisman winners. So does Florida State. Both teams have multiple national championships. Both teams, ever since the ACC, it's been a little rougher for Miami. But
yeah, sure.
Both teams have a lot of conference championships in the conferences that they respectively spent the most time in. So I walk into this saying, you're absolutely right, Donno. It's like when I say, when Miami fans are saying, we're back. And I'm saying, no, you should not be saying you're back if you're Miami, because the standard should be above winning 5 games in a row if you are talking about we're back. If we're talking about your back to Howard Schnellenberger accidentally leaving his pipe in kids' houses days, I need to see a ring, right? If Texas is talking about their back to Mac Brown days, if they're talking about their back to when the Tyler Rose, Earl Campbell was coming through, you need to show me that. I need to see that level. And this is, I think it's beneath Florida State to storm the field here. But I will say this. One thing about Castellanos that I think we should have all figured out by now, he walks that line.
He does. Yeah.
He walks that line. He is a Johnny Cash of college football, because he's gonna put it all out there every time. But Johnny Cash's famous song said he gonna do what? He walks the line every time. And that's what Castellanos is going to do. He's going to say inflammatory things. He's going to say things that piss people off. But he doesn't care. And I love that about the kid, especially because he backed it up. In game 1, he backed it up. Yeah. He said, hey, we're going to go out there, and they ain't got Saban to save them. And after the game, we said, well, maybe they did need Saban to save them.
That's right.
So, the whole, our offensive line or our trench players on par with theirs, I don't think that's that big of a thing. But there will be another field storming. Thomas, believe more of your university, brother. Believe more of your fan base. Believe more of your tradition. Because I'm sorry, at Cass Tech, we don't storm the field when you beat King. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
That's what you're supposed to do. You don't, we're storming the field. We beat the boys from Dirty 30. No, you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, well, and I think like covering him at ACC Media Days, like just kind of made me understand more that's just how the way he talks and the way he approaches life. Like it's hard. And I'm sure that at times Florida State coaches have been like, hey, can you tone it down a little bit and just like praise the opponent and don't say anything worth a soundbite? But I just don't think he can. It's just the way he's built. It's just you take it.
And I'm a huge believer in not messing with what makes your players great. Certain players, that confidence, that arrogance, that I have seen it firsthand. I've seen guys that they have certain nicknames that they're like, this is what people call me. And people start calling him by his first name, and he just was not looking as good. And then all of a sudden, when people start calling him that nickname that exalted him or made him feel good, be it, something like he was nicknamed after a god or Hollywood or Juice or whatever the case may be, whatever it is, sometimes guys just feel a lot better when they have that confidence rolling behind them. And for Thomas, it feels like he's one of those guys. I mean, if you think about who he is and his story a little bit, right? How tall is the guy? You and I both saw him at
he's
ACC
listed
media.
at 5'11", but that might be with.
I was just about to say that's a very generous 5'11", right?
Yeah.
He's 5'11", and he's playing a quarterback or a position quarterback where the average guy in the NFL at that position is what, 6'3", 6'2".
Yeah.
So he's already all his life he's been told you're too little to do this. You're too little to do this. The way that you play the game. When he first started playing it, we didn't have Lamar Jackson winning multiple MVPs. We didn't have Josh Allen winning MVPs with his legs and Jalen Hurts and the tush push being as impactful and rushing touchdowns mattering. So I'm sure that he was hearing the same thing that a lot of older guys were hearing back then. You're not a quarterback. Go play wide receiver. Go play this. Go do that. And he's had to power himself up. He's had to gas himself up. Well, I'm the baddest. I don't care if I'm the only athlete on this field. I'm going to do it myself. And it manifests itself in him giving very interesting sound bites for guys like you and me.
I'm just waiting at some point between now and Saturday. I'm waiting for when he drops. Cam Ward is not there to save them. Like I'm waiting at some point. At some point, if he does,
Vinny Testaverde ain't walking through that door. Ray Lewis and Ed Reed ain't walking through that door. I'm waiting on it too.
At some point. All right, we got more to talk about, including what went wrong for Syracuse this past weekend, besides the obvious, and what went right for Louisville in their comeback win against Pitt. We'll also talk about the games coming up in Week 6. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Folks, one of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. With every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. I love how with Quo, formerly known as Open Phone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. Their built-in AI agent is a game changer. It can answer after-hours calls, capture leads, and keep business moving even when you're off the clock. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. For your next listen, check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs hosts Locked On Wolfpack alongside Grayson Boone. I host Locked On Canes. Got all things NC State and Miami covered. All right, so Kenton, game we didn't get to talk about a whole much on our Monday episode because there were so many things we had going on. Duke goes into the JMA Wireless Dome at Syracuse and gets a 38-3 win. Now, I'm not surprised Duke won the game, especially given Syracuse is without their original starting quarterback, Steve Angeli, who suffered a season-ending injury against Clemson. So you could expect, making the transition to Ricky Collins, there could be a drop-off. They could lose a game against a Duke team that is suddenly surging. But 38-3, Kenton, there were a lot more problems there than just the quarterback for Cuse.
I'm going to say something that a lot of people are not going to want to hear. First of all, hats off to Duke. Thoroughly whooped the wheels off those boys. Dominated them. Duke football is for real. Let's give them their credit. And this is crazy because I said that the game against NC State was going to be the one where their offense figured it out and finally started clicking at their highest clip. Here's a fun fact, Donno. Going into that NC State game, they had at least one turnover in every game. Do you want to know what stat in the box sheet they have had zeros across the board against both NC State and Syracuse?
Turnovers, 0.
Turnovers. They protected the ball. But then I've also talked about another thing with Manny Diaz. He's the master of disguise. He makes you hitch. He gets your quarterback just to think a little bit longer. Just hold on. What's going on a little bit longer? And yet and still, Fran Brown and his offense managed that fairly well. Donno, would you believe me if I said through the first four drives that that Syracuse had, only 1 3-and-out, and on the other 3, 150 yards combined.
Yeah, I thought they would probably score like 24 points in those 4 drives.
But in those 4 drives, I want you to take a wild guess. How many points do you think they came away with?
3.
Correct. 3. Because of an interception, because of a fumble, because of turning over the ball. And let me say this. These were not just turnovers where it's like, oh, Syracuse is just making bad decisions, holding like a loaf of bread. Duke earned those turnovers. And that's why I'm saying Duke football is for real. They took the ball away. They took it from Syracuse. But if I'm Syracuse walking away from this game, I walk away saying we were able to move the ball effectively. And until we got down to the point where we were more one-dimensional than we already are, you move the ball effectively. You've got to cut out the mistakes. You've got to cut out the mistakes and you'll be fine. But Duke, they're for real, Donno. They're for real. We're talking about a Duke football team here that, once again, first time in program history, or I'm sorry, one of the first times. This is the second time in program history. 3 9-win seasons back-to-back, and now they're 2-0 in conference play. Yeah. This team is for real. The offense is figuring out. Darian Mensah looks comfortable. Queso Brown, the boy's the cheesiest, like they say in the Cheez-It commercials. He woke up feeling the cheesiest, and he's getting it done out wide. This team and their offense now picking it up helps the defense, which has struggled a bit at times, to be better, and they dominated in this one. Credit to Manny Diaz. Credit to Darian Mensah. This team is phenomenal.
And Duke is 2-0 in the ACC. I mean, they had a loss to Illinois where they got blown out, but they committed 5 turnovers. They also lost to Tulane, which was, I think, their most embarrassing loss of the season, given the Darian Mensah factor there. But they're 2-0 in the ACC, and I'm looking at their upcoming schedule, Kenton. They play on the road at Cal this weekend, which is a 10:30 p.m. game, which can be tricky out there going up against JKS and the boys. Duke should win that game, though. And then the following week, they're home against Georgia Tech. So get ready, Kenton. In about 2 weeks, I'm going to open up an episode saying the winner of Duke versus Georgia Tech will win the ACC championship. Get ready for that one, because they might be unbeaten both in conference.
But you know what? And here's the thing, right? You're talking about Duke and Georgia Tech. Both of them are from what side of the conference?
The Coastal.
You're doing the knowledge now? We do the knowledge at Locked On ACC. So this is, again, Duke has been phenomenal. Georgia Tech has been phenomenal. That game could have some major implications if the master of disguise, and the worst part about it, JKS is the key to everything. He's the one who stirs the drink for Cal, right? He's a true freshman going up against a Diaz coach defense. Oh, he's you talk about the way that he gets you in those long field positions, and gets you in those 3rd and longs and kind of messes with your eyes. Oh, a true freshman, a kid that was slow dancing at prom a few months ago. Yikes, that's tough.
All right, so moving on. Louisville beat Pittsburgh in Pitt 34-27. Was a big comeback. They were down, I think, 17-0 in that game. Miller Moss had thrown a pick 6 early in that game. But I watched that entire game, Kenton, and I'm not sure if I feel stronger about the statement that Louisville won the game or that Pittsburgh lost the game. I still don't feel that great about Louisville. I mean, Miller Moss finished the game strong. Louisville's starting quarterback, but it was a roller coaster for him over the course of 4 quarters. Louisville managed to win the game, despite their rushing duo not playing that well. I mean, Isaac Brown averaged 1.4 yards per carry, 14 carries for 20 yards, but he and Watson were also at least a little bit injured in that game. So it's like, I still don't know. I said this after their first few non-conference games. I don't know how I feel about Louisville. I still don't know how I feel about them, despite the fact they just got their first conference win against a tough Pitt team.
I feel geeked up about that Louisville team, and I don't know how you don't, Donno. Let me tell you why. If I was to tell you, hey, Louisville's backs both play, but they combined for all of 70 some odd yards.
Not even. It was like 48. I'll tell you right now. They combined. 67 yards. Yeah, you were close.
Yeah. So they combined for 67 yards.
Yeah.
And they have a situation where they get down a lot early and they come back to win this game. I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed harder than I laughed at your original proclamation to start this episode off. You know why? Because I did not believe that Miller Moss in this receiving core, who, by the way, love this receiving core. Everybody knows how I feel about Bell. Everybody knows how I feel about Dakari Collins. Love both of those guys, 2 big body guys, and they got a bunch of pass catchers outside of those 2 that can get it done in Louisville. But if you tell me, hey, that's going to be the situation. They're going to be down 17-0. Miller Moss is going to have to throw the ball 50 times, 50. And I'm going to sit here and say they're going to win this ball game. I would have said, no way. No way. But they come out with a win when your best parts of your offense are on they got a blown head gasket, suffering a little bit, struggling out there through injury. To see them win this game, to me, says a lot. Because, again, you and I both asked, who is Miller Moss? And Miller Moss said, well, damn it, here I am, and this is who I am, against a really good defense. So I'm going to give this, and defensively, all those turnovers they forced.
Yeah,
I mean, boy,
that's true.
Just taking it away from Pitt time and time again. I have got to give them their guts. I've got to give them their credit. I walk away from this game excited about Louisville because that's a team that sticks together. That's a team that keeps fighting. That's a team that has shown us now we can win it multiple ways. We can win it with just saying, here you go, Isaac. Here you go, Duke. And we could also win it by saying, Miller, the game's on your shoulders, brother. Chris, you've got to get open. Find a way. We can win it that way as well.
All right, you won me over. And by the way, we got some big games coming up this weekend, including Louisville hosting 24th ranked Virginia. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. And guys, the NFL season is here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Guys, I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays. I'm all over the player props. It's one of my favorites. And I've even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you get a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Make sure you're checking out the College Football Kickoff Show exclusively on Fire TV every Thursday. The best and brightest of the Locked On Network, including Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12, leading that action. Brian Smith and I will be appearing head-to-head on Locked On College Football Kickoff this week to talk about Miami against Florida State. We're certainly going to be talking about that more on Locked On ACC this week. But how about, Kenton, a great matchup in Louisville? 4-0 Louisville Cardinals, 1-0 in conference, taking on 4-1 Virginia, who are suddenly one of the hottest stories in the ACC, coming off their win against Florida State. Virginia's ranked number 24. So Louisville's unbeaten. They're unranked. Virginia is ranked, and Louisville is favored by 7.5 points, Kenton. Do you think the Cinderella story comes to an end, at least temporarily, for UVA?
I do, and I do believe that it comes to an end only because even against Florida State, the cracks in the run defense showed up. The cracks, they presented themselves, And so I'm believing that Brown and Watson are going to be a little bit healthier. I'm believing the offensive line is going to have to go back and look at that tape with a little bit of embarrassment to say, hey, I get it. The linebackers from Pitt are no joke. They got some of the best in the country. But damn, that's it. You can only muster up 60 some odd yards. So I think that this is going to be a get right game for that running game. And when you set that running game off and then you let that set the table for Miller Moss to eat, that's an entirely different situation, because we saw when he had nobody set the table and he got to eat like a barbarian with his hands, he could do that too. He could do that too. So I think the running game comes back, and I think it sets him up. And again, it's coastal chaos to think you lose to an NC State team, who then goes on to lose to a Virginia Tech team without a coach. But in that same season, less than a month apart, you beat a top 10 ranked Florida State. The coastal chaos has not left the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so another former coastal team, Duke, I mentioned they're going to be at Cal, 10:30 p.m. on Saturday. So on the surface, I see Duke only favored by 2.5 points at Cal, and that seems like a number you'd probably want to jump all over the Blue Devils. But I would imagine, the 10:30 p.m. ACC after dark thing has something to do with why Duke is only favored by a little under a field goal, Kenton. Plus, I'll say for Cal, and I know they had a really bad loss to San Diego State. They're undefeated in their other games, including their first ACC win of the year against, not very good Boston College game, but they had to go in Chestnut Hill and get it. So that's something. I wonder if young JKS can spoil that party for Duke on Saturday night.
Yeah, no, the party would not be spoiled. Somebody cue up the Prince in the Batman soundtrack, because it's going to be party man time for Duke in this one. Don't get me wrong. It's 10:30 p.m. Eastern, correct? It kicks off at 10:30 p.m.
Yeah,
Eastern,
10:30 right? Eastern, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a difficult task, but I think the Duke is up to it because, again, I like JKS a lot. I think he's too wet behind the ears. He still got Similac on his breath. And Manny Diaz, when he sees a true freshman walking through that door,
right.
He gets so excited. He gets to licking his chops. He's like, oh, what's that they put on that plate for me? Oh, that's that good rib. That's that one you ain't even got to bang it on the table. You just hold it upside down, the meat fall off. He looked at him and he said, he chicken tender. I need a piece of that. So I think that Duke gets the job done. And I think they cover. I don't think they cover by much. I don't think this is a blowout, but I do think that they cover, and they're all right here. Again, that offense is clicking at all cylinders right now. So I think that they get the win here.
Well, we're going to, throughout the week, we'll talk about the other games that are coming up this weekend. I'll mention them real quick. Of course, number 3, Miami at number 18, Florida State, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. Noon on Saturday, Boston College is at Pitt. Noon, Clemson is at North Carolina. Clemson's looking for the slump buster. Bill Belichick might just be it for them. 1 o'clock, Wake Forest at Virginia Tech. It's an odd start time, but it's on the CW. They always do the odd start times on the CW games. 3:30, as we mentioned, 24th ranked Virginia is at Louisville. Also 3:30, Syracuse is at SMU. 2 p.m., Campbell is at NC State. Should be a bounce-back win for NC State. And Duke at Cal at 10:30. We'll talk about the rest of these games throughout the week, so you want to keep it locked all week long. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I'm Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, and we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.